What's up, guys? It is Carly here bringing you episode number 19 of my entire horror movie collection, and if you can notice, the quality of the video should be a little bit better because I finally went ahead and got myself a new webcam, much better than the one that I just had on my laptop because, well, that one was okay sometimes. Other times it looked like I filmed the videos on a microwave, and I just wanted to kind of update on the quality of my videos since I've been making them for a while now, and yeah, went ahead and got a webcam. I was thinking of getting a camera, but most of them are just kind of expensive, and I figured that a webcam is more suited for the type of videos I make. So yeah, hopefully this looks good for everybody. Sorry, my walls are all kind of pure white, so it still kind of makes me look really pale and all that, but what can you do? So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get right into this part here. There will probably be one more part after this, and that'll be it. So yeah, we're just going to move right along, and we left off with Psycho. What can I say about Psycho? It's a classic movie, perfect 10 out of 10 in my book, and one that I definitely grew up watching and continue to enjoy to this day. I would always watch this one, and then I later discovered the sequels and would watch those ones over and over again as well. So really love Psycho and the franchise itself. After that, we have Psycho 3, one of my favorite horror movies ever. I actually didn't even watch this VHS yet because at the time when I found it, I had already watched Psycho 3 like a month before or a few weeks before or something like that. So I didn't really feel like rewatching it, so I just threw it on the shelf. But yeah, I was pretty happy to find this VHS because this is one of my favorite horror movies, and it was just a cool thing to find. Only thing I don't really like is the spine is like, you know, the title is facing the opposite way compared to all my other VHS tapes, so that really gets on my nerves. I also have a Black Christmas copy that is the same way on DVD, but whatever. I still think it's pretty cool to find this, and it's in pretty good condition. So yeah, Psycho 3, one of my favorites. After that, we have Queen of the Damned. Oh, facing the wrong way. Queen of the Damned, yeah, this is one that JP gave me, and I really didn't care for it. He only got it for me because it happened to be at Goodwill, I think, and, you know, I'm obviously just collecting any horror VHS I can find, and I had never seen this one before, and yeah, I could not get into this one at all. It's one that I tried to rewind a few times, and no matter what I did, I just could not force myself to pay attention, so can't say I'm a big fan of this film, but for now it's just kind of in the collection. After that, we have The Relic here. I know a lot of people love this movie and really appreciate it and things like that and think it's a lot of fun, but for me, I just didn't really care for it. It wasn't my type of film, and I just could not really get into this one either. It's definitely not bad, like with Queen of the Damned. That's actually just not that great of a film, but The Relic is one that I know a lot of people tend to like, but I just personally don't really enjoy it too much. Plus, the quality of this tape wasn't all that great, so it was really hard to pay attention to it in that aspect. I would like to revisit it one day just to see if I still feel the same way, but for now it's just kind of sitting in the collection. After that, we have The Ring. This tape is well loved because The Ring used to be my favorite horror movie ever. When I was younger, middle school age, I really loved The Ring, and I kind of got picked on in middle school, honestly, a little bit because people found out I was so into horror movies, and this was the one that I was really, really into, so whatever, fuck them. I'm still into horror today, so it is what it is. No one really makes fun of you now for that, but anyway, I've always really liked this case here. It's see-through, and I never really see this anywhere. I've seen The Ring a lot at Goodwill's before, but it's usually just solid, and that's it. So I really never see this cover, and I've always really enjoyed how it looks. So The Ring, I haven't seen this movie in years now, which is kind of funny since I used to speak so highly of it. I would like to rewatch it sooner than later just to see if I still have the same love for it that I did back then, but The Ring. Next up, we have Scanners. Picked this one up a few months ago at a Goodwill, and I was intrigued because the cover is kind of different from other covers that you always see on Scanners. It's usually, I feel like it's usually this picture right here that you always see for the Scanners cover, but I found this and I thought it was pretty nifty. I had never seen this movie before either, so I was pretty excited. I will be honest though, I was kind of disappointed. It just wasn't what I was expecting it to be, I guess. I thought it would be a little bit more fun, but it's just kind of a weird movie, and I personally just didn't really care for it. I know a lot of people love this movie and consider it one of the classics, but for me, I just didn't really care for the story all that much. Still a cool one to have on VHS though. After that, we have Scream. What can I say about Scream? It's one of my all-time favorites. In my top 5 horror movies, I give it a 10 out of 10. Pick this up because I never really see these covers with the close-ups of their face like this, and I thought that was pretty cool considering all I really ever see are the floating head, the typical floating head cover that you always see for Scream. So I just had to have this, and yeah, Scream. It's one that I just love. It's a pretty long movie, but it's one of those ones that flies by, and I can put it on anytime, really. So, yeah, Scream, one of my favorites. After that, we have Scream 3. This is pretty beat up at this point. I've had this since I was young, and to be honest, I've never owned Scream 3 on DVD or anything, oddly enough. I've always just had this VHS copy, and that's how I would watch it. So, Scream 3, not the best in the franchise, definitely the weakest in my opinion, and I think a lot of people could agree on that, but when I was younger, I would watch it just as much as the other 2 movies, just because they were ones I like to rewatch a lot. I would marathon them a lot altogether, but back then even, I knew it wasn't that great of a movie. It's still just a Scream film, so it's not horrible or anything like that compared to like Friday the 13th sequels that are really bad. This still isn't bad. It's just the plot to me was always just kind of stupid, and I didn't enjoy it as much as the other Scream films. But yeah, Scream 3. Next up, we have the classic Shredder, which is a early 2000s slasher film. I believe it came out in 2003, and I remember my mom actually picked this up for me because she would pick up slasher movies or movies kind of like that from time to time for me because she knew how much I loved Scream and Halloween and stuff like that, and she really didn't care what I watched as long as it wasn't too over the top. So anyway, this is one that I do remember her grabbing for me, and I've had it ever since. I had never heard anyone else talk about it, but then Andrew Schwartz came over my place and acted like it was a masterpiece, so I just think that's pretty funny considering no one else in the world really talks about this one. Overall, it's just a fun little slasher. You can't really take it serious. The acting's kind of bad in it, and sorry, that was my phone going off. Forgot to put that on mute, but yeah, it's not that great. When I was younger, I thought it was pretty cool, but upon a rewatch, it's really not that great of a movie. Like I said, it's just one you put on to have fun with. After that, we have The Silence of the Lambs, which I just recently rewatched the other night. I'd seen this a few times growing up, and it actually creeped me out quite a bit when I was younger. The part where Hannibal Lecter kind of pulls off his big escape type deal. That really freaked me out when I was young, I remember. But anyway, this is a movie that I always see in thrift stores no matter where I go, and I always joke how every single thrift store in the world, you can always count on having a copy of Silence of the Lambs, if not multiple copies, because it's true. Everywhere I go, I see this movie, and for the longest time, I just kind of didn't pick it up because it was one that I always thought, oh, I could get that anytime. And then one day I went in and saw it was there, and so it was like Red Dragon and Manhunter. So I decided to just kind of grab them all together because I had never seen those other 2 films, and I've still yet to watch those. But anyway, Silence of the Lambs, perfect 10 out of 10 for me. Once again, I think it's a fantastic movie, one that I kind of put off rewatching just because it is about 2 hours long, so, and you know me with long movies, they kind of turn me off from watching them right away, but this is a great movie, and it keeps you intrigued throughout, so definitely a great one. After that, we have Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. I either got this off of eBay or off of one of those pages on Facebook where people sell their VHS tapes, because I was trying to get all these Silent Night, Deadly Night films for JP and I to do a 12 Days of Christmas horror thing on his YouTube page. We did end up uploading, I believe, it was like 6 or 7 videos, I think, but we did fail at completing it just because we didn't give ourselves enough time to watch the movies and do the reviews, unfortunately. But that was a fun time, and this is a pretty fun movie, especially if you watch it with a friend. I watched it for the first time, and I was with JP, so it was a fun time. Definitely not the best thing to watch after you watch part 1, though, just because it's just a rehashing of part 1 with like 30 minutes of its own content going on. So, don't recommend watching them together, but at the same time, this is definitely one that I'll probably pop in around the holidays whenever I just want to watch some fun, stupid movies. So, there's that. It's definitely not a masterpiece or anything, but it is what it is. After that, we have another movie that I always joke that you can find at every thrift store ever, and that is The Sixth Sense. I did not buy this at a Goodwill, though, myself. I've had this since I was pretty young as well. I don't even remember the last time I've watched this movie, though. When I was young, this is another one that creeped me out quite a bit with some of the scenes, and I used to like it quite a bit. I do think it's very, very overrated nowadays when you think about it, because everyone just really raved about this movie, and it's just kind of another movie now, but whatever. I still thought it was pretty solid back then. This is one that I would like to rewatch one day just to see if it still holds up for me, but it's not on the top of my list or anything, but pretty good movie overall. After that, we have Skeletons in the Closet. I think I told this story on Body Bags where JP and I, before we started Netflix and Chill, our original plan for a podcast was to do a Goodwill hunting podcast where we would go out to Goodwills or other thrift stores and try to find obscure horror movies or thriller movies or sci-fi movies, anything kind of related to horror in a little sense. And it was a pretty cool idea. The only issue we came across was that our Goodwills around here suck and don't always have good selections for a podcast to really be successful and for us to keep making more episodes. But anyway, I did pick this up whenever I thought we were going to try to do that idea, and we never ended up doing it. But this is a psychological thriller, and I'd never heard of it. I did watch it, and I was actually pretty surprised that it was an okay movie. It wasn't anything special or memorable, really, but kind of felt like a Lifetime thriller suspense film, in my opinion, and it had some moments that were kind of cringy, but overall, it wasn't that bad, and it's always cool to find movies that you've never heard of and to put them in and be pleasantly surprised by them. So, not a bad film. Definitely not horror, though, more of a psychological thriller, like I said. After that, we have Sometimes They Come Back. This is one that I didn't grow up on or anything like that, but JP really wanted me to see it, and once again found this at a Goodwill, so I finally picked it up, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed this movie. It definitely has that true Stephen King story vibe to it. I feel like some Stephen King movies really just feel very similar, and just his stories and things like that feel similar, which isn't a bad thing. I really like his storytelling and the stuff that he puts in his stories in general, and I thought this was pretty solid. I've never seen the sequel or sequels. I think there might be 2 of them now, but I really enjoyed this. I thought it was pretty good and something that you can pop in and has some rewatch value to it. After that, we have Alfred Hitchcock's Suspicion here. Yes, one day Goodwill had a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock titles, and I decided to pick a few up because I was only really familiar with Psycho and The Birds, the 2 big ones. So I grabbed this. This is an older one from, I believe, 1941. So it's definitely old, and it's definitely slow, and it's not horror really at all. It's more of a suspense mystery type of deal, but I thought it was okay. I did fall asleep while watching it at one point, and I did rewind it, but I was also very tired that night. That's not me saying the movie was totally boring, but in my opinion, it was a little bit boring, but that's just because it's of the times. I thought the story was kind of interesting, though, but definitely not the best thing ever, but it's not terrible. After that, we have Tales from the Crypt. This was a pretty cool find. I didn't really know that there was a movie that the TV series was based off of. I'm not honestly even that familiar with the TV show Tales from the Crypt. I wasn't much of a TV show watcher when I was young, so I kind of missed out on all the horror TV that was out there, unfortunately. But this was pretty cool. It's got the Christmas skit going on in it that you do see in, I believe, episode 2 of Tales from the Crypt, so I thought that was pretty interesting to see it in its original format there. This is from 1972, so going into it, I thought, like, oh, this potentially might be kind of slow. It's also only rated PG, so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not, but I actually really enjoyed it and found the stories to actually be pretty dark and well done for the most part, so I do recommend checking this out if you have not seen it before. Finally, for this part, guys, we have 13 Ghosts with this stupid freaking sticker here that will not come off, so I'm not even attempting it because I don't want to completely destroy the box or anything like that. But anyway, yeah, 13 Ghosts. I didn't grow up watching this one or anything. I know a lot of people used to talk about this one and say it's a pretty fun movie, and I did watch it, and I do think it is a pretty fun movie. It also has Matthew Lillard in it, so I can't complain because I've always loved him in the few things I've seen him in. I just think he has such a great character behind him, and yeah, he's entertaining to watch. But the movie itself is pretty entertaining and fun. It's kind of a little bit cheesy and maybe not my favorite. I might not have as much fun with it as other people, but I thought it was pretty okay. And once again, just something you can pop in if you don't want to watch anything too serious. So yeah, 13 Ghosts. That is it for this part, guys. Thank you once again for joining me. I'll probably have the final part out by next weekend, so I hope you guys have been enjoying these videos, and I will see you next time.